people back in the days, older people, man, they judge you as a whole. I'm not talking about every city, but whatever you did, you was on the trial. Hey, bless up, fam. So today, I want to have a discussion, and I want to do a series of videos where I go into some of my community poll questions, because there's a lot of engagement that I feel like I'm not tapping into by taking a look and kind of discussing some of the poll questions. Which is worse, being broke, being not accepted, being lost, being unproductive, being not needed? And I found it rather interesting. We need every single piece and every single one of those elements in our life, right? Having a lacking of any of these things will give us a void in our lives, right? But the poll came in. I'm going to start from the least voted for, and then I'm going to go to the most voted for. Question that came in at the lowest at 3% out of 303 votes. Accepted. That one shocked me. That one really threw me off. Just the thought about being not accepted, I wouldn't think that would be so low. But I think we come from the standpoint right now in time where we project ourselves to people that we don't know, and some of the people that we somewhat know, as I can do fine with or without you. I don't need you. And in a lot of mentalities and a lot of people that I encounter, they show this strength of independency. And then we wonder, how can we have or raise kids that could just go and shoot up, neighborhoods, cities, rob, steal, pillage? Or how can mothers and parents leave their kids unprotected, unguided, and just go? It stems to some of this foundation, the foundation of being not accepted. What this poll showed, that many people don't care whether they accept or not. They're going to be who they are. They're going to do whatever they want to do, however they want to do it. And I get that, because so many times in the past, especially during the time I grew up in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, it was all about being accepted, being cool, being in the in crowd and all of that good stuff. And then most of our parents and mentors and people that was in the community, while we still had a sense of community, it was very judgmental. People back in the days, older people, man, they judge you as a whole. I'm not talking about every city, but whatever you did, you was under trial. No matter where you went, you was under trial. You was under scrutiny. Whether you had religious background, whether you didn't have religious background, whether you talked a certain way, whether you engaged a certain way, you were heavily scrutinized, and you were called to the carpet about it. Because at that time, you really didn't question authority. You didn't do a lot of different things. So that was real big. Now for our next one, it came in at 9%. It was being not needed. One of the lowest ones was being not accepted. Now we're going to being not needed. So out of all of these things that we're about to name and that I've already named, being not needed. So once again, it ties back into, it's my thing, I'm independent, I got this, I don't need nobody else. No sense of unification, no sense of community, no none of this. It shows me that we don't really value, and for whatever reason, I'm just saying, we don't really value trying to network and trying to be at peace. And I heard a video today from a YouTube content creator, and I cannot remember his name. I would give him a shout out, but I think he was covering the shootings over in North Carolina. And he was saying that he giving up. He don't care. He's not trying to teach. He's not trying to break people off. He's not trying to be in the community. He's just sick of people just gonna do whatever they want to. They don't want to get serious about nothing. They don't want to learn. They just want to be entertained. Everybody want to do their own thing. And I know he was like pissed off, but then at the same time, I'm like, I understand the frustration, because, we as content creators, when we try to give or try to share information that may be useful or maybe something that you can build and have this sense of forward movement, not just by yourself, but also with a group of like-minded people, you don't get the support. You don't get a lot of that stuff, but you still got to put that information out there. So I get it. But being not needed, I think that's very lonely. I think that's, if you're no longer needed, you're not relevant in a lot of cases. Typically it'll attach to a lower self-esteem and depression and a bunch of other stuff, because being needed sometimes can add that part where not only, yeah, I get it, can add stress if you're lacking, but at the same time, it gives you a sense of getting up in the morning, give you a sense of moving forward, give you a sense of purpose, you know what I'm saying? So I found that interesting. The next thing that came in at 20%, now we got a big jump right here, being unproductive. All this stuff ties in, if you notice. Once we break everything down, it ties in. So being unproductive, getting up, no sense of purpose, not providing resources, not providing value to others, that came in rather high. There's a big gap between the being not accepted and being not needed, being unproductive, whether it's work-related, personal, or what have you, being unproductive. And now we have shortly notched just above that at 22% being lost. Before I go to being lost, I gotta jump up to 45%. We're talking about over double, and 2 and 3 times more than these other ones, which is number one, being broke. Which is worse, being broke. So 45% of the community that voted, out of 303 votes, 45% saying being broke. Being broke is the worst thing that can happen to most of us, and most of us are Americans that voted in the United States of America. Not being wanted, not being needed, not being unproductive, not being even lost, not being accepted, but being broke. Some of the biggest fears in our lives, based on this poll, is they rather all of those things rather than being broke. And that shows you from at a young age, growing up here in this country, what's important to us. What's more important, I should say. I shouldn't say what's important, but what is stacked up high, considerably high, in regards to what is important. And that's being broke. Being broke in this country is more depressing and more of a worse situation than a lot of other things. And I don't know how to even address that. I agree, being broke is hell here in this country. You know, you can't pay light bills, you can't get transportation, you can't get resources you need, you can't get health care, you can't provide for your family. It's a lot of things you can't do being broke mentally to people. But they say love won't pay your bills. Love won't pay for the... We don't want to look at other alternatives to provide those resources. Like, do you really need light bill all the time? Do you really need to go out and eat all the time? Do you really need to go to the grocery store all the time? Do you really have to go out to find excitement? Do you always have to be catered to? Do you really have to get nails, hair, all that done? Do you really have to have $160,000, $90,000, $80,000, $70,000 car to get you from point A to point B? Because what shocked me more than anything is the high regard that we put over money. And I see why we suffer. I see why we go through so much. And I see why we don't have no sense of community. And I see why we don't feel connected. Because if money is that high in our lives, we have definitely took the bait. We have swallowed the bait, swallowed the hook, and we are on the line, and we're being guided by whoever controls the bag. And whoever controls the bag, that's typically the direction we're gonna go. And yes, but understand, money is definitely high. I'm not negating that, especially in this country. You need money. But the big gap between 22% to 45% of things, the other things are not financial. The other things, and I did that on purpose. When I did this poll, I selected one tangible item, right? And the rest of it was all about relationships, interactions, about sense of community, sense of family, sense of caring, communication, and all of that, sharing, teaching, all of that. Information, education shouldn't be suppressed over entertainment. Because if we no longer have access to cable, we no longer have access money or what we're working for, then my question is, who are we? Are we reduced to nothing? I don't know. I just found that interesting. So y'all put it in the comments. Let's have another conversation in the comments about what your thoughts are. Being broke is hell. It can be depressing. You can lose a lot. You can lose your family sometimes. You can lose friends, lose your home, lose your cars, your health, all of that, because everything has a price tag on it here in the United States. And that's basically the bottom line. I can't speak for no other country because I never lived in another country. Not for a long period of time, I should say. I haven't lived in another country for a long period of time. But it's really at the point where everything has a price tag, and value is you having money or not. You having that cheese or not. And if you got that cheese, you are highly esteemed. You got it going on. You got it together. And to me, that right there is, it should be talked about. It should be communicated. And I think it should be further discussion, because we have definitely been raised by a capitalist society. And we have definitely been indoctrinated into a capitalist mindset in a capitalist world. So I don't know. It's just a conversation. We'll continue more conversation. Y'all check out the channel. Make sure you get notification by subscribing. If you don't mind, hit the like and leave your comment, and then share this video out too as well. And until the next time, I want you to keep on growing. Grow.